gentlemen, beekeepers, technocrats, policymakers. In Jamaica, it's what, 12:18, and I take it that is you're 1 hour ahead of us. So we'll just start lunchtime. All right, for the Jamaican beekeeping industry, for the Jamaica's beekeeping industry, I'll basically put you through. Am I going through? Okay. I'll just present a small report on the Jamaica beekeeping industry, and we'll take it from the perspective of the apiculture unit from the ministry, right? Just a vision of the Are you hearing me, right?
Yes, we're hearing you, sir. We're hearing you loud and clear.
All right, from the vision, the apiculture unit, the vision of the unit is to develop the beekeeping industry through research, extension, and regulatory systems, right? Now, our mission takes us in the path of having problems with my slide going through. For the mission is that apiculture's mission is to increase efficiency, productivity, and to bring about competitiveness of the local beekeeping industry. Now, some of the, are you hearing me? Am I coming through properly?
Yes, you're coming through clearly, sir. Yeah, go on, continue. Continue, Mr. Smith, please, continue.
Okay. So when it comes on to the apiculture unit, the unit itself is supposed to foster a safe environment for investment and also to help in monitoring some of the pests and the disease and the capitals that are invested in the industry. Now, this presentation is guided through by speaking about the unit, the estimate of the beekeeping industry, and a small portion on biosecurity, climate change, challenges that we face, and the research direction that we need to go as a unit, as an industry. Now, just to bring focus to where we are, we're coming from stingless bees, where we evolved from rearing of stingless bees. We went through the whole process of producing colonies in rustic containers or rustic or non-movable hives, and now we have reached a point where we are about 57,000 colonies strong, operated on more than about 3,000 locations or acres. Now, most of our hives are on long strap hives. We have probably about 1% of the hives that are in top bar hives at this time. Since recent time, we have had just a few beekeepers who have introduced the flow hive, and we've asked some of our officers to have a clear look at the flow hive to see if we can do some comparison with the flow hive and our present hive that we have. Now, every industry has a value, and if we start looking on the local bee stock, the stock itself values somewhere in the region of about $18 million US. If you talk about the extraction facilities, you talk about the equipment, the extractors, the motor vehicle, the storage areas, and all those packaging houses, you're running yourself into about $7.5 million US dollars that are tied up as investment in that area. Putting a cap on the value to what we produce, we produce somewhere in the region of about 2.2 billion Jamaican dollars worth of honey, which works out about 16 million US dollars worth of honey. And most of our honey is consumed locally. As time changes, we are realizing that we have more and more export. There's an increase in the demand for the export of Jamaican honey. Some of this honey goes on to the US market, some enters some of the Caribbean islands, and we are trying to see how best we can export some of the products that we have. Now, every industry has a vision as to where you go within another 10 to 20 years. But if we look on Jamaicans' position, we would not really want to pass more than 80% expansion of the present stock we have. Now, it was predicted or documented by the early scientists that our capacity should be about 150,000 colonies. Now, at that time, we never have so much climate change issues. We had more vegetation, a wider variety of vegetation, and as such, with the best scientific principle that we should not pass 100,000 colonies of bees for Jamaica. Right now, our density is about 5 colonies per square kilometer that we have. And most of the Caribbean islands will realize that the same introduction of bees, we had probably about 3 races that were introduced in Jamaica. And the 3 races speak to the Italian, the German, and the Caucasian that we have in the country. Really and truly, there is a principle that we should not import bees. So from the 70s, I think the last set of bees were imported. And as such, we can take it that our bees are really from the same origin, however, they are all in one big blend. We cannot comment on importation that is not permitted, meaning that you need a permit to get bees in. And from time to time, persons will smuggle bees into countries. We can say then that in 2019, or not 2019, 2009, we could indicate that bees were imported illegally because we found vormite at that time, but we can't say what was imported in relation to race. Now, our beekeeping industry is supported by an extension system, and the extension system operates in zone. And the color codes represents the extension zones that we work in. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extension zones that are operated, 6 extension zones that are operated. St. Catherine itself, we took it out because St. Catherine was one of the larger beekeeping zones, and as such, we designated one officer for that parish. Small country, however, we are given small staff to work with. And our present staff complement is 1 Chief Plant Protection Officer who oversees the duties, the extension, research, regulatory aspects. We have 6 extension officers. We have 1 research assistant, a secretary, and a task worker who comes in to do small things on a daily basis. Now, this staff level cannot do for Jamaica when it comes on to beekeeping. What it means is that we will require additional staff for our beekeeping activities. And as such, we've made a proposal for the staff complement to be increased from the present 9 to about 18 persons in the zone. And in that proposal, we have sought to separate some components of what we do. For example, we have taken out product development as one area that we would like to see some form of expansion. We'd still have our extension staff who will be fitted with research assistants in the field, but we'd also take out the research side of it and allow the research to coexist with the other areas in the industry. So we wanted to separate some of the activities, but this called for an increase in staff. Will government framework allow it? Well, let us see. This is a proposal that was sent out to the ministry for them to make changes to the structure that we have right now. Some things that we face as staff, and I can tell you that it may be faced by almost every country across the region, the lack of critical resources. When you talk about field conditions, especially climate change under those nice veils, bee veils that we have, then you realize that the staff becomes uncomfortable. And the issue of inadequate staffing for us to conduct the things that we do in the field. Now, a budgetary request that was made from the ministry standpoint, from the unit, we made a request, yearly request for money to fund the ministry, the unit. Now, each year, there's an increase in the request that we make. However, you will see that we have requested 34 million Jamaican dollars, which is divided by $140, if you want to convert it to US currency. And of that 34 million that we requested, we got something in the region of about $21 million. And what that meant is that that component of the budget can only pay staff a salary for what you are going to do. So it simply means that if you look on activities to be done, there is little funding that is put aside for the extension duties, is put aside for the research component of it. And as such, we have to be creative in our way. And our policy allows us to earn from some of these activities that we do. What we do is really cost recovery. So when we have community projects, we do associate a cost to training these persons. And this fund, we're allowed under the present financial system to utilize this money back into the unit. Infrastructure-wise, the government of Jamaica has put a lot into redeveloping or putting in terms of infrastructure development for the research and development division of the ministry, where we are a part of it. So you'll see two pictures, one to the left and the one on the right indicates our entrance to our new, our refurbished aviculture unit. So that one on the left is a renovated lab, and the one on the right represents the central common area that feeds into the offices that we occupy at this time. We will be seeking funding for providing the necessary equipment to have the lab perform specific duties. And one of those duties is to predict the occurrence of American foul brood disease. So we would have taken honey samples from the farmers, and would have taken them to the lab and analyzed them for AFB spores. Okay. The other component of it is to, even without resources or the limited resources, the ministry was able to do somewhere in the region of 1,200 hive inspections for the financial year 2019-2020. And these activities would have fed into inspection of April visits, and the visits themselves would lead into determining if there are any disease that is present, and also to provide technical service for the farmers. All right, some other aspects, so we'd have conducted field demonstrations, field inspections, and we'd have done a good amount of work, although we were given almost nothing to have the activities completed.
Oh yeah, beekeeping.
Some challenges that we would have felt, not sure if you're hearing me, I'm in and out. Some challenges that we would have had over the time, food availability for our bee stock. What we realize is that our main source of food, of supplemental sugar, which is the sugar factories, are on the decline. As a result, the farmers are unable to access sugar for the feeding of their bees during the dearth period. And as such, the ministry will be making an intervention in short order to assist the beekeepers in that regard. Some of the other work that the ministry is involved in, we still conduct work with the NCT vet, or the heart training program, where we train farmers, we assist in the certification, we work with heart to have a certification program in place. We work with different community groups to have different programs in place for them to increase in terms of their beekeeping activities. My slides are stuck. All right, and as you see, these are some of our stakeholders that we have. And these stakeholders are critical to us. The Bauxite Company, we have Food for the Poor, which is who gains access for funding from overseas. They are probably one of our greatest supporter in terms of getting rural persons in beekeeping. All right. My slides are stuck. All right, so when it comes on to activities that we do in the field, we have many community groups where we are able to train them in beekeeping, put bees into operation, provide skills for the community members, and as such, it allows these persons to earn. For some of these persons are really from rural areas. And beekeeping as an operation or an activity does keep rural persons in rural areas and give them a livelihood. And it also takes some of the person from the city area into the rural communities for them to be investors. Now, if we look on the issue of pests and diseases that we face as a country, we are still low on the list of countries with high pest level, meaning that we still have varroa mite, we have small eye beetle, we have American foul brood in a controlled way, and for the last 15, 16 months, we have not seen a case of American foul brood disease in Jamaica. And in case we find it, we usually have a stamp out approach where the entire colony, after inspection, is destroyed with fire, and the apiary is put under a ban. So it's regulated where you cannot move items from it. In terms of varroa mite, it's spread all over the country. It's part of it's distributed nationally. And as such, we are living with varroa mite, and we have only 2 registered miticides for its control. One is Apiguard and one is Apistar. Now, there have been many requests to have us change to some other products. However, some of these products are detrimental to trade, and once you enter them into your beekeeping operation, the risk of you losing certain trade partners exists. And as such, we will be embarking on the utilization of some natural products in its control for varroa mite. Africanized bees, we are not in a position to say using genetic material to say if we have it or not. However, the activities that we find in the field do not indicate that we have Africanized strain. Now, this is part of our job as an industry, that we have characterization of the Jamaica beekeeping stock to determine its genetic makeup as a way forward in this regard. The other research direction that we need to focus on is the whole issue of the DNA of the causative agent for American foul brood disease. Across the world, they say the American foul brood disease is resistant to antibiotics. Jamaican industry has not been using antibiotics and is not welcome for use in Jamaica. And as such, we feel that it's good to have a DNA work done on the causative agent to determine if it is present. For the persons who were at the 2015, well, in 2015, this was removal of bees from the port of entry in one of our ports on the north coast. Come 2020, we had to go back and remove more bees from the same port. However, what we have done, we have installed traps right around Jamaica at the ports, point of where the ports are. And we have a team of beekeepers who normally visit these traps and determine if the traps contain bees or not. And this is one of our ways in which we intend to continue for the detection of entry of bees. Investigation into importation of pollen. Jamaica is one of the countries where you need a permit to take anything, any bee product in. And as such, if bee products are found on the market without a permit, then the law steps in when it deals with that. So any unauthorized entry of pollen or honey into Jamaica is usually seized by the authorities. issue that we encountered recently, and my slides are not flowing in the correct order, is, or as a challenge that we have met upon, is theft of bees. I'm not sure if the entire the region has seen theft of bees as on an increase. But in Jamaica, we have seen where persons have been stealing bees as a means of I'm not sure if it's an earning point or it's just to start new aprons. And as such, we have seen several cases of theft of bees. And because of the theft, we have installed a whole system of, or we have been embracing the issue of permits. All movement of bees in Jamaica requires a permit. And when I look at the permit figures for this year, we got 53 requests for permits, and the permits themselves, just under 50% of the permits were permits that were allowing them to move within the same parish that they are in. Now, and that is for permits. The number of colonies indicate also that persons have been moving colonies out of parishes to other locations in the interest of finding new pastures, new bee pastures, areas with better production as a new strategy to compete, to mitigate the issue of climate change. Pest and disease continues. We spoke on that, but the giant, well, this frog was detected in Jamaica about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and it has so far been reported in about 5 to 6 parishes. We have made recommendation to some of the farmers as how best to control the frog. And this was a recent article in a paper that was published, one of the newspaper, where scientists urge Jamaicans to report the sightings of invasive Cuban tree frogs. Trachea mites, all the samples that we have collected from the ports, and in addition to national sampling of bees, we do check for trachea mite. Now, trachea mite is not here, we have not detected it in all the years, and as such, we still embrace the issue of non-movement of bees into Jamaica. I spoke about the small eye bee plagues here. It's naturally distributed right across the country. It is not really causing any severe harm to the farmers, and farmers have been utilizing different integrated approach for its management. The way forward, increase primary production for beekeeping products by community members, improve the whole institution capacity, increase technical deliveries to beekeepers, especially in the area of value added. We also need to improve in the whole issue of biosecurity. We need to keep our industry in a safe way. So these are just, and before I close, I just put these together in terms of what the data collection on a national basis. Jamaica has embarked on a system utilizing the Open Data Kit. Now, the Open Data Kit allows us to collect information on the farmers' apiaries. It is transferred to a central database. It's stored in a central point, a secure point by the ministry, and whatever information we want from it, we do get that information with a specific request point, and we utilize that information to do spatial analysis. It allows if you find, say, a pest problem, you can extend 2-kilometer radius on a map, and you can use a digital way of finding who are the beekeepers, who are the owners of these apiaries within a a short time. So this information is also used for verification because farmers do register every year. So they do enter all their apiaries, how many colonies they have, and we do present them with a registration card to indicate their status as a beekeeper. That card also has on it an area where the extension officer can sign, where the farmer can make a notation, and anyone who enters the farmer's premises or the apiary can make a notation, and that can be kept as a part of the farmer's record for doing business. I hope this presentation was reached you in a proper way.
Thank you very much.
Just that I had some glitches and the presentation was freezing all over, and I had to find my way around.
Man, Hugh, we live in the real world. We're beekeepers, man, so we expect the unexpected. Nothing ever runs totally smooth, but I think it was a great presentation, very informative. I like the information you gave about your calculation on the load factor for Jamaica and the maximum possible potential capacity of bees based on a 5 colonies per square mile average. It'd be interesting for you to share the source data that gave that calculation. I've got 1 or 2 questions online for you. Mohammed Halim asks, what is the average yield per colony?
All right. Over the years, we're seeing where climate change has impacted production and impact production in a significant way. It has done it in 2 ways, 2 extremes. In some locations, climate change has caused the operation to increase in production. These areas were areas that flowering plants were not as productive. And in other areas, climate change now forced the production down. As a matter of fact, some farmers had to move from these locations. And the permits that we grant for moving bees, we realized that a lot of the permits were permits that offer the farmer the opportunity to move them from the existing parish to another geographic location. So sometimes they're trying to fit these into best fit for production now. And in other cases, it was like if you have purchased a new set of bees, you're moving them into a specific zone. And we realized that the movement of bees was more to the southern parishes. They were moving away from some of the hilly terrains, they were moving towards some of the more productive parishes, and parishes that had a wider range of vegetation that were considered to be bee-friendly and productive.
So what was the figure? No.
I'd have to go back to my chart. It was about half of the persons were moving, or more than half was moving to just probably four parishes that were on the southern belt.
Okay. All right. We got a couple more questions here. Hugh Smith, Jamaica asks, what about collaboration with forestry department?
What I did not mention is that every beekeeping project that the unit has an input in recent time, we have encouraged these persons to include a tree planting component. Some of the tree component includes both from the forestry area and also from the fruit tree crops area. So right now the unit itself may not have a very integral relationship with the specific department, but as projects that are operated in the field, they do have connections with the forestry. Remember, we're in the ministry.
Okay, cool. Robert Powell asks, any more info on how to deal with toads and frogs?
Toads and frogs, what we have realized, I've been to some locations recently, and the frogs are sitting on the top bar of the hives. So they enter the hive entrance and reach the top bars and sit on these top bars. So one of the basic principles is to debush your apiary. Have the apiary in such a way that they don't have hiding places. Your stands that you have developed, if you have building blocks with cavities, then they're going to stay in and around that area sometimes. Also, the whole introduction now in terms of management is the utilization of mesh entrances to reduce access to the inner part of the hives.
Okay, cool. Okay, Gladstone Solomon says, excellent presentation, Hugh. So, got a fan there. Hugh Miller asks to identify bee-friendly locations.
Bee-friendly locations, all right. We have some areas in St. Elizabeth. I'd say areas, instead of using the word bee-friendly locations, let me change it to areas that farmers have seen other farmers being very productive and would want to get into that area with their bees. So if you're talking about some parts of St. Elizabeth, some parts of St. Catherine, some parts of Manchester, where the vegetation is on top, there's hardly any competition for housing and alternative use for these areas. And you can see a balance in the rainfall pattern for that particular time. What happens is that these locations may change from time to time. So this location may be good for this year, but next year it's the opposite you get, especially when you speak about climate change. So just sticking to one location again to say this is a good location, sometimes it comes from the principle of what the farmers have seen other farmers receiving. Now remember, the previous presentation require a specific set of assessment to be done, standard approach to assessing these locations. Now, even if you assess the locations and all the vegetation is in place and everything that is best fit is there, it doesn't say that the weather condition for that year will allow them to produce as you expect them to do. So climate change has a spin on how productive a particular location may be.
Okay, Hugh, if there's no more questions from our global audience, I think we should push on and we should try to swing back to some of our original presenters. So I would suggest that we swing back to Guyana and try to get...
Thank you very much.
All right, but thanks a lot, Hugh.
We all
Great presentation. Thanks a lot, man. Good stuff. All right, so we've got our friends from the Guyana Apiculture. We've got Mr. We've got Guyana Apiculture Society on Lyndon Stewart. Who's going to present first, Lyndon or Dr. Lykin? Heads or tails?
Lyndon. Yes, I will.
Lyndon.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Okay, so Lyndon, you got to open the batting, man. So let's go.
You're hearing me, okay?
We're hearing you loud and clear, sir. So share screen should be in effect.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen, man.
I just want to say to my friend Will Smith, thanks for a good presentation. We haven't met in a long time. All right.
So true, so true.
Yeah. All right. And, Good. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yeah, that's it.
Can everyone see my presentation?
Just go on the, just click on the full screen.
Full screen.
Yeah, we can see you. Go ahead, we can see you.
Full screen.
Go to the first slide first and then click on the screen.
Hold on.
Go to slide number 1 first. And then click on the...
Slide number 1. Full screen, full screen.
Right at the bottom where the magnification is, you'll see a little, see at the bottom there, there's a little screen there at the bottom. Click on that.
Come on, Lyndon. You can do it.
Yeah, hold on.
Bottom right on your orange bar.
Bottom right on my orange box.
Yeah, right, yeah, I think your cursor's on it already.
This is it there?
Where you see 86% at the bottom there? You see that?
No, I'm not seeing that.
Your bottom right.
Click on slideshow.
Yeah,
At
go
the
on
top.
top left then. Your
On
top,
top.
Your top left. Oh, slideshow. Go to slideshow up the top.
Top bar in the middle, right next to between review and animation. Slide slow, right at the top.
Hold on. Oh boy.
In line with the word file, which is in
All
red.
right. Where I have to go, you said?
Yeah,
Go to my-
slideshow. You're almost there. Go along to your left.
Oh, yeah.
Animation.
Bingo. Yeah, that's it.
Those.
All right. So from the beginning, right at the end. Go to the end. Go to the left, down a bit. Underneath file. Bingo. All right.
Underneath what?
Yeah, press it. Just press.
Right there, right
You're
there.
right there, man. You're on the money. All right.
All right.
Good.
Got me there? All right. Woo.
You can start now. You just press the down button and you make your presentation now. Just press the down
All
button.
right. Good.
Cooking with gas.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And this is Guyana's presentation, and we're happy to share our presentation with you. I'm Lyndon Stewart. Guyana is located in South America coast part of Guyana. Shield 90% of the country has rich tropical forests. It is 16 million hectares of rainforest, a total area of 83,000 square miles, which is 214,970 square kilometers. Population from 2014 census was 735,554,000. Language, English. Official Amerindians, dialect, Creole, and Martin units, Guyanese dollars. That is what our monetary units are. History of beekeeping in Guyana. Beekeeping in Guyana has a very striving business as far back as the 1930s. The National Association being registered organization with about 100 members. In the 1970s, with the advent of the Africanized strain beekeepers, traditionally, hold on, just let me move this here, something back. Oh, no. Good, all right. It was a traditional husbandry, Italian strain was their numbers dwindling. Poor husbandry and genetic mutation result in the dominance of the invading species. The defensive Africanized bees had a reputation of being killers and were hold on, something is blocking me here. And was exterminated as a rule. This approach has been long seen as overly exaggerated. The Africanized bees are hardworking, but are prone to swarming. Beekeeping in Guyana is not under threat from CCD or some of the problems like sack brood and foul brood and pests that in the northern hemisphere. Honey is in high demand in Guyana. Right? The country imports more than 6,000 gallons of honey annually and hardly exports. Most users of Guyanese honey see it as an exotic item or an item that is a medicinal value. Hold on, let me see if I can shift this thing. All right, shift this away from you. Good. Most of the honey is either extracted from swarms in the wild or from hives maintained in the areas close to the sea, riverine areas, and rainforests. Agbo Congress hosted. The 5th Caribbean Beekeeping Congress was hosted by the Guyana Ministry of Agriculture and the Guyana Beekeeping Association in 2008. The 9th Caribbean Beekeeping Congress was hosted by the Ministry of Agriculture and Guyana Apiculture Society in 2018 at the Guyana School of Agriculture. Demographics of the sector, hives and bees, types of hives, Africanized honeybees, Melipona fofosa, Melipona trinitatus, trigonus, and solitary bees, which is known as bumblebees, and the tar babies. Number of colony, approximately 3,000. Number of beekeepers by sex, age, 300. 40% female, 60% male, and average age of 35. Production levels various. I have no data on that. Value-added products, we are now making 9 different brands of honey body therapy soap, such as honey and lemon for the face, honey and turmeric as a body cleanser, honey and oatmeal as a exfoliating skin scrub, honey and moringa as a body enhancer, honey and coffee for reducing cellulites, honey and aloe vera for pain and swelling in the joints, and honey and neem for skin rashes. Hair dressing, skincare products, elixir. Elixir is a health drink that is used for arthritis and cholesterol and other cramps and old age pains. Mead, which is a honey wine. We are making sweet mead and dry mead. Wax foundation, candles. Success and challenges to the growth and development. More than 100 persons introduced to beekeeping over the last 2 years. Pest and disease survey conducted in 6 regions. Guyana Livestock Development Agency, Wax Foundation facility commissioned. Guyana School of Agriculture now offer basic beekeeping courses at certificate level. 46 students successfully passed this course. Many honey shows at Agri-Tourism Month in 2019. 50 new apiaries established in the last 2 years. 3 beekeepers attend the 46th Upper Monday in Montreal. And in picture here are some of the students from GSA. Those were the first year students from GSA. And the picture at the bottom are some of the students who were trained at the LEAP Linden Enterprise Beekeeping Training last year. Guyana beekeepers visited Dr. Jessamy at Upper Monday. And if you look in the picture there, you'll see members of GAS with Dr. Jessamy, and a picture here with myself, Mr. Roberts, and Ms. Janice Fraser at Apimundi, posing as the king, the queen, and the queen bee, and the drone bee. Future projects. Queen rearing programs, apiary inspector training. Now this is very important for us. We are looking forward through Partners of America and ICA for us to have apiary inspectors trained. Currently, there is no trained apiary inspector in Guyana, and we are looking forward to have this on stream. I think it's because of the pandemic that we are going through, the COVID, that we haven't had this training done, but it's very important that we have the apiary inspector training done. We want to lobby the government for large-scale investment into apiculture, land for beekeeping operations, extension services for new beekeepers and existing beekeepers to boost production on primary and secondary products. Collaborate with regional counterparts to control influx of adulterated honey. This is a big problem in Guyana. We are experiencing a honey coming from Brazil through Letem, which is region 9, and it is all over the city. It has already reached about 4 or 5 regions already. What is happening, this honey is crystallizing so fast that when the customers buy the product and they take it home within a week or 2, it crystallizes. And guess what happens? The beekeepers get the bad name. The honey is not produced in Guyana, it's from Brazil. And we learned that the bees are being fed with high fructose corn syrup. We are trying to see how we can get this solved. In 2017, we were in Region 9 because we were blaming the Region 9 beekeepers after hearing it coming from Letem. After we visit, then we learned that it was coming from Brazil. We lobby with GLDA, which has a branch in Letem, to put a ban on that honey coming from Brazil, which they did, but our borders have so many loopholes, it is very porous, that the honey is still reaching to the city and other parts of the region. And again, the beekeepers are getting the bad name. Most of the persons who sell this honey are not beekeepers. They are just buying from the wholesaler and retailing it back to customers. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks a lot, Lyndon. Great presentation. I see there's 1 or 2 questions. Is there 1 or 2 questions in the group? Nope. Anybody have any questions for Lyndon? No, anybody here have any questions? Okay, that's great. Well,
Yes,
yes, go ahead.
yes, Mr. Lyndon, nice to see you again.
Yes, nice to see you, Mr. Williams.
Yes, good. I just want to ask, does every beekeeper has a label in your country so that you can probably certify your beekeepers within your organization to ensure that the honey that the beekeepers produce are good for human consumption and it's of high quality?
Now, all the members of the Guyana Apicultural Society, all the members have their labels. But as I mentioned to you, the persons who are selling this adulterated honey are not beekeepers. But they sell with a label. They do sell that honey that comes from Brazil with a label. And the label says produced in the Rupununi. But it comes to the Rupununi from Brazil, but it's not produced in the Rupununi. It just passed through. It's just in transit.
Okay.
Well, Lyndon.
So do you guys just need maybe your association or the genuine beekeepers need to probably have a label on their bottles to ensure that this honey is produced in Lupununi. Maybe that can help.
Yes, one of the things we plan to is to have each member of the association to have the association logo on their label, so that when persons see the honey, once it doesn't have the association logo, along with that individual member label, you know, well, the honey is not from a beekeeper.
I think Mr. Romulus wants to say a few words.
Yeah, question from our table on that side. Very nice set of products, the facial scrub, the body cleanse and all that stuff. But we were just wondering, do you export any of your products, and where do you export to?
At the moment, I'm sure you've learned that we cannot export honey as yet because of the problem with having honey being in transit in Trinidad, which we had a problem in 2015 with honey going to Barbados. We had a lucrative market in Barbados, and we've been restricted because of that. We did not know that even in transit honeys are banned in Trinidad. So we had to put a halt to exporting so far until we can get a direct link from Guyana straight to the destination. The soap, there are persons who has requested ordering some of the soap in other Caribbean countries, and we are waiting on them to place their order because we have now launched, just recently we have launched the ninth products of soap that we're doing.
Yeah, just one question. Are the apiary inspectors government employees? Can you?
No, we are looking for the apiary inspectors to be members of the Beekeeping Association. We won't mind if we will be taking some yes from the government staff, such as the GLD has a bee unit, which is run by Dr. Lykin, who's a veterinarian. And Dr. Lykin has about 3 staffs with him, and they will be also included in the training.
So who do they report to?
They will report to the CEO of the Guyana Livestock Development Authority through the bee unit.
Okay, any more questions? Any more questions? No? Okay, I would like to revert back to a previous order then, and I would like to ask Mr. Alan Williams of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to proceed with his presentation then. Thank you very much, Mr. Lyndon Stewart. Give my regards to Mr. Roberts and Erin.
Yes, I will.
And the rest of the team, and very informative, and I hopefully myself will be visiting you guys in Guyana soon, man.
Thank you.
So, sorry we can't be there. Mr. Salman will tell you I never miss a Congress. Yeah, well, you haven't technically yet. So I've never missed a Congress since 2001. So you're still informed, my brother. You're still informed. All right, you're still informed. So anyway, so without further ado, I would like Mr. Allen to take control, share his screen, and let's push on, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You okay there, Alan? Your mic is muted, Alan.
Yes, for some reason, I just had to open up the window. For some reason, it's stuck out.
Okay, you should be able to. My technical team is in the background investigating, so you should be all right.
I will have to find a document. Just give me a minute or so.
All right, so you want us to push on with another presentation, or you want us to...
That would be nice. Yes.
Okay,
go
sorry,
ahead.
but we've got Dr. Lykin to present as well for Guyana. So let's go to Dr. Lykin. Are you there, Dexter? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Go for it, sir. Go for it. I'm sorry, Mr. Stewart had me so engrossed in his presentation that I forgot clear about you. But go ahead, please, sir.
All right. I'm going. All right.
Good, man. Good.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm going to present a technical paper, the pests and diseases, comparative analysis of pests and diseases that affect honeybees in Guyana, 2013 and 2020. Pests and diseases affecting honeybees are becoming a major issue across the world. Although this is the case for many countries across the world, in Guyana it is not commonly known for beekeepers to experience extreme losses due to pests and diseases. In Guyana, our main honey producers are Africanized honeybees. However, as a nation, we are experiencing major loss. We are not experiencing major losses. It is still important to know what pests and diseases may be present in Guyana. Excellent. For this reason, Guyana Livestock Development Authority collaborated with Partners of America to carry out both surveys with the Guyana Agricultural Society. The objective: to determine what pests and diseases may or may not be present in Guyana, to determine the prevalence of rural mites in Guyana, to verify the absence of Tropolaylaps, a parasitic mite native to Asia that has been causing significant damage to colonies around the world, to verify the presence or absence of honeybees-related pests and diseases such as small hive beetle and Nosema cerana.
Trying to disable this notification because everybody's in this.
In 2013, samples were collected from 10 apiaries. Between these 10 apiaries, they were 30 hives. Each apiary was given its own code. So each sample was collected. Although each sample collected was clearly labeled for proper identification when analysis was being carried out. In 2020, samples were collected from 16 apiaries. Among these apiaries, there were 659 hives. Similarly to the survey carried out in 2013, each apiary was given its own individual identification code. Also, each sample collected was clearly labeled for proper identification when analysis was being carried out. The samples that were collected were analyzed for the following pests and diseases: the deforming virus, the cyanide virus, aphid lethal paralysis virus, black queen cell virus, chronic bee paralysis virus, acute bee paralysis virus, sagroot virus, slow bee paralysis virus, mucovirus. Samples were also analyzed for Nosema cerana, varroa mite, trachea mite, small hive beetle, and Tropolaylaps mite. The methods of sampling that were used: live sampling. Live samples were collected from each hive. A quarter cup of Africanized honeybees were placed in a Ziploc bag and stored in ice. 10 adult stingless bees per sample were placed in a Ziploc bag and stored in ice. These were subsequently crushed and stored in RNA-laden solution to test for various viral diseases that affect honeybees. Alcohol-preserved sampling. Samples were collected from each hive. Quarter cup of bees were placed in a container of 70% isopropyl alcohol. This constituted one pooled sample. Each alcohol-preserved bees were used to test for the Nosema, small hive beetle, and varroa mite. Brood frame bumping sampling. A brood frame was gently shaken to remove the bees that may be present on it. Both ends of the frame were bumped onto a pan. A small amount of water was added to the pan. Any material that was found in the pan was collected in a cloth with a sieve. The collection cloth was stored in alcohol and later analyzed for Tropolaylaps. pollen sampling. Fresh pollen grains were collected from the hive food storage and placed into a tube. This tube was kept on ice while out in the field and stored in the freezer until it can be sent for testing. Pollen grains were collected to carry out chemical tests to know if there were any chemicals affecting the bees. Observation made in the field. During sampling, random colonies were thoroughly inspected for damages. These colonies were opened and brood frames were examined for evidence of brood disease, varroa mite, trochilelapse, waxman damage, small hive beetle. Hives were also inspected to ensure that the queens were present in the hives and were laying. The regions that were covered in 2013 were region 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. The regions that were covered in 2020 were region 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. The results. All right, this graph and chart shows that the colonies that show the viral results. The viral results that were detected in 2013 were 3 viruses: the forming virus, acute bee paralysis virus, and the black queen cell virus. The viruses detected in 2020 were the forming virus A, B, and C, acute bee paralysis virus, the cyanide virus, chronic bee paralysis virus, and saproot virus. In this graph and chart shows the results from the nosema, the varroa mite, tracheal mite, and the nosema samples. In 2013, varroa mite was prevalent among samples that were analyzed, with the highest infestation being 18.1 mite per 100 bees. Nosema ceranae was detected in 8 samples at relatively low spore loads. In 2020, varroa mite was found in each sample that was analyzed. However, the infestation was relatively low, with the highest rate being 0.9 mite per 100 bees. Nosema also was detected in 4 samples at relatively low spore loads. In 2013, 2 samples were analyzed. The first sample showed for analysis of chemical residues. In the first sample, there was no chemicals were detected, but in the second sample, these chemicals were identified: carbaryl, naphthol, cypermethrin, carbendazim, and imidacloprid. In 2020, only thymol was detected. The only chemical was detected was thymol, which is a natural occurring. It occurs naturally, and so the chemical occurs naturally and does not cause harm to the bees. All right. In 2013, we did a hygienic test using liquid nitrogen, and all the results were quite good. The bees removed about 50% of the freeze brood, with only colony 17, we having 44%. This proved the hypothesis that African bees are very hygienic. Therefore, in 2020, the hygienic test was not done in 2020. Discussion. From both surveys that were conducted, it was established there are several pests and diseases that affect on the bee population in Guyana. The varroa mite was detected in all samples collected from both 2013 and in 2020. Nosema ceranae was also identified in both surveys. The viruses were detected included the forming virus, acute bee paralysis virus, black queen cell virus, the cyanide virus, chronic bee paralysis virus, saproot virus, and acute bee paralysis virus. In 2013, only 3 of the viruses were identified. The forming virus, acute bee paralysis by black queen cell virus. The varroa mite and nosema was also detected. The samples that were analyzed in 2020 did not have any black queen cell virus. However, the forming virus, acute bee paralysis virus, was detected along with the external virus, chronic bee paralysis virus, and sackroot virus. Varroa mite and nosema was also detected in samples analyzed in 2020. Varroa mite. From the results obtained, the varroa mite was prevalent in 2030 with 7 out of the 10 colonies. These results exceeded consensus, which states that less than 3% infestation rate is safe. In 2020, none of the samples that were analyzed exceeded the safe infestation rate percentage. Nosema. In 2013 and 2020, nosema was not prevalent in colonies that were surveyed. Out of the colonies that were surveyed in 2013, 8 of them came back positive for nosema. This was also the case for samples collected in 2020. These samples had relatively low nosema scores and there were no cause for alarm. However, the Bee Informed Partnership Diagnostic Services team recommends that beekeepers be concerned when their colonies exceed 1 million spores per bee. In 2013, the viral load per sample was not high, with 17.96 being the highest viral load recorded. In 2020, there were few samples a bit high, especially in the forming virus. The highest viral load that was recorded was 10. The forming virus may exist within the bee population, may remain asymptomatic all its life with the absence of the varroa mite. The chemical residues. Both the samples were analyzed for, over 100 different chemicals. 5 chemicals were identified in 2013, which was naphthol, carbaryl, carbamazepine, cypermethrin, and imidacloprid. Out of 5 pesticides that were detected, 4 were present at low loads, between 50 parts per billion, except for imidacloprid, which was 180 parts per million. Imidacloprid is a neonicotinoid, and it is acutely toxic to honeybees with acute oral alleviates the region from per bee. Conclusion. Honeybees are very important, vital for pollination, and also important for the maintenance of our ecosystem. Pests and diseases are the leading cause of decline in the honeybee population across the world. No one pest and diseases are present in Guyana will help beekeepers to manage the apiaries well and also to know what course of action they should take. From the survey carried out in 2030, it can be seen that many viruses and pests are affecting the honeybee population. However, these pathogens that were identified are not at alarming amount. These results may be applicable to the honeybee species limitations. These results may only be applicable to the honeybee species using Guyana, exploited in Guyana. This survey may not reveal the full extent of the pests and diseases that are present in Guyana, seeing that it was not applied to all regions present in Guyana. Also, fur were not included in the survey. Another limitation, pest exposure may not be fully understood because these samples were not collected from every region, because to run this test was very costly. Thus, only a few samples was collected. Recommendations. The survey should be carried out biannually to keep up an update of the pests and disease that affects honeybees in Guyana. More training should be done by GLA apiculture units, since there are a lot of beekeepers that are still not familiar with how they can run and maintain an effective apiary. Beekeepers need better location for the bees, areas that are reserved from the public, and a lot of nectar producing plants. More training should be carried out focused on various pests and diseases that affect honeybees and how they can be identified. This brings me at the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Mike, thank you, sir. Very detailed scientific explanation. I do see a few questions there for the Guyana contingent. I see Hugh Miller, great historical presentation. I like the diversity of byproducts. Gladstone, big shout out to Alan, Dexter, and the Caribbean presenters and participants in particular. To our friends from beyond the region, Nadia and Washington Daily, hypothesis as to why no black queen virus detected in 2020. That's a good question. Dr. Lykin?
Again?
Hypotheses as to why no black queen virus detected in 2020.
To be honest, I cannot say. I have to get back to you about that.
Okay, cool. Why was there a decrease in detection in 2020? Also from Nadia, Washington Daily. She asked that question also.
A decrease in detection from where?
She didn't say specifically. Maybe I will get her on live.
Probably
Guys,
it was the environment. Probably she talked in relation to the environment. I believe I had the same question.
Yeah.
But there was a decrease in the infestation of environment.
Was it increase or decrease?
Decrease.
I think because the amount of bromide was not was very low. I'm not certain. I can't tell.
All right, I can answer that. There's a research that was done in Brazil on Africanized bees on pest and disease, and it was discovered that the Africanized bees are more resistant and they know how to treat the pest and disease. In 2013, what we have done, we did nitrogen tests to show how the hive react to these diseases, and it was remarkable how they react. By using the free skill on the comb, where we put a 6-inch circumference pipe on the frame, and they free skilled it with nitrogen. And within 24 hours when we went back to the hive, all of the bees that was free skilled with the nitrogen within the 6 inches circumference of that PVC pipe was removed out of the comb. The comb is being rebuilt, and the queen had already laid in it again. So the Africanized bee has a way in ridding things that they see in the hive that are not they are accustomed to.
Yeah, but what's the difference? So if at 2013, when that experiment was done, it's the same set of bees, so why would the 2020 figures be significantly less? If 2013 you were having almost 100% VHS sensitivity, why would there be such a 3% drop between then and now? Have Africanized bees improved over the last few years, from 2013 to 2020?
It may be the season of the year.
That sounds more like
Maybe the season of the year.
That might be more logical. So probably you would have to you would have to look back at your records and see what time of year you executed the experiment vis-a-vis, and then.
So we executed it one in 2020 in February, right? And in August was the 2013 one.
So February is like the end of your season, or the closing of your season in February, isn't it? And August is like it starts to ramp up, I think.
Yes.
Because you'll have a different season to the rest of the Caribbean, right? So you may have to redo the experiment at the same times of the year.
Yeah, to have close, the same environment.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Nadia. All right. Okay, so we got Alan. Did you see my request? Did you see it Did you see the request? Look in the chat room. There was a request, a direct message. Yes, no?
I see a question. Are we treating hives? No, we're not.
I'm not seeing your request.
Okay.
I saw from Majesty, right? Are you treating the hives? We're not treating hives at present.
No. Okay, Alan, I think
Yes.
Mr. Sinanan has a prior engagement, so he's requesting if he could present now so he can go to that prior engagement if possible, if you don't mind. Is that possible? Okay, so Mr. Sinanan, are you there? Hayden? Come in, Hayden. Hayden? St. Lucia calling Hayden?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes?
So I'm trying to get my presentation up.
Yes, you can do it now, sir. We've.
Are you seeing us?
No, but we're getting a terrible feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing you. We are seeing you now. But we're getting a terrible echo. So you.
See if they're seeing.
Kill that.
Do I have to speak, Karen?
Hello?
Yes, we're there waiting on you guys. You don't have any camera feed yet, but you're good. You can see, well, okay. Alan, you're proceeding, man.
Is it showing?
Yeah, from there.
Okay, all right, keep on. Make sure they're seeing it.
Okay, Richard, you are seeing this presentation?
I'm not seeing you, but we're getting a terrible feedback. Okay, it's a little better now, but we can't see you yet. We were seeing you previously, but we're no longer seeing you. You want us to let Aid? Okay, we're seeing you now. Yeah, we can see you.
You're seeing me, but are you seeing the presentation?
Well, no, we're not seeing the presentation at this time. We're seeing you and only you. So we're seeing you, maybe you're from a cell phone, that's a feed from your cell phone?
Okay, so you see me from the cell phone?
That's correct, I believe so, yes.
But they're not seeing.
You should give Sharon to Rishma Santa.
Okay, so Hayden, can we go ahead with Alan, and while you fix your technical difficulties, we get back to you?
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
Thank you much, bye. Mute that, please, can we mute? Thank you. Okay, so Alan, please go ahead. Alan Williams, all the way from just next down the road, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It was meant to be, Alan. Your mic is muted. Go ahead, unmute your mic. Your mic is muted. Can we assist with unmuting his mic, technical team?
Yes.
Okay, you're good. All right, perfect. We're hearing you. Go for it.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Alan Williams. I am wearing two caps, basically. One of the SPG Beekeeper Association of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Ministry of Agriculture of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this is our country paper report in terms of the status of beekeeping in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Okay, can I go to the next page? trying to go to the next page. Can someone help me with that?
It's your screen, huh?
Say it again.
Are we sharing the screen or is it your screen? It's your
I'm
screen.
sharing this.
It's your
To stop
screen.
my screen?
It's your screen. It's not ours. It's yours. Press the arrow button on your keyboard or press enter. Yeah. Oops. Do you want us to do it for you and you just present?
The screen, basically the screen for me. I don't know why my screen is not moving.
Okay, guys, can you do the presentation? Richmond. Yeah, it's there in the presentations folder.
One more time.
Try again, Alan. Before, otherwise, yeah, you got it. You got it. All right, you're there.
Yeah. Next screen. My slide is not moving. Okay, very well.
Bingo. All right, great.
Okay, good, very well. Okay, so sorry about that. The history of beekeeping in SVG. We are just a small island of 150 square miles, maybe just the tongue of Guyana. Just 110 people, and our capital is Kingston, and our island is a generally steep slope area that averages more than 10%, sometimes 20%. If you looked at my cursor, probably you can see where I'm pointing at. We actually have a multi-island state. So the mainland is St. Vincent, and down to the south we have many small islands as well that give the name St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We basically have 75 or 76 inches of rainfall a year, but that only is respect to the mainland St. Vincent. In the Grenadines, though, the climate and the weather condition is totally different, drastic. So we experience less than 50% of the annual rainfall that we have on the mainland. And I will explain the difference even in the beekeeping experiences within the same within the different geographical locations. So bees were introduced in the late 1950s in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as most Caribbean islands or most of the Eastern Caribbean, bees are not endemic to the Caribbean. Bees were brought here from England through a missionary. His name is Lennox. He was a missionary. I think he was an Anglican missionary from my reports. And he began teaching beekeepers within the capital of Kingston. And it began to expand in the 1980s. And around that time as well, beekeeping honey was exported to England. Around that time, just about 20 or 30 beekeepers were involved in beekeeping as we expand from the 1980s. So in 1991 to 2000, we began to the beekeeping began to extend in the wider populace, but was still a very niche, small farming sector. And only one Grenadine island practiced beekeeping, that is Bequia. And if you follow the arrow, you will see a small island there, that's one of the Grenadine islands that practice beekeeping. The rest of the islands have not yet started beekeeping. So the only Grenadine island that practiced beekeeping was Bequia, just off the shores of St. Vincent mainland. And in 1997, we had this and that pest did great havoc to our industry, beekeeping industry, especially in Bequia. Over 100% of bees were wiped out in the island of Bequia, and there were only about 26 domesticated colonies on the mainland. So we suffered a lot from the viromite attack in 1997. It was first discovered by a farmer. His name is Robert Balcom, and it was confirmed by Favoca through ICA, the assistance of ICA. So from 2006, when we embarked on a revitalization of beekeeping industry in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and we were able to achieve the following that year. One, the formation of the SVG Beekeepers Association. We received STIVEX funding, and we got through to import hives from St. Lucia. Thanks to St. Lucia again. And we supplied farmers starter kits, and that came through the funding of the STIVEX funding from England. And we were able also to import Italian hybrid from Hawaii for 2 years, 2006 and 2007, before we discovered the small hive beetle affected Hawaii. So we had stopped the importation of hybrid queens. And we also embarked on a small scale queen rearing and bee breeding, and also the training of new beekeepers. So we actually had the team between 2006 to 2015, it was embarked as the revitalization of beekeeping industry. The two main implementation or factors that contributed to the development or to the revitalization of the beekeeping industry was the Easy Queen system. It was very, very effective. And then we had the viromite control by using the screen bottom boards, and the honeybees develop a natural control method in which they use the proboscis or their mouth to devour the viromite. When I see that the first time with my own eyes, I could not believe it. Any viromite that meet, any adult viromite they meet in the hive, they actually chew them up and spit them back out. And that was a great quality that helped the bees themselves to become extremely tolerant to the viromite attacks. So the 26 hives that remained at the beginning of 2006 developed a natural tendency to tolerate the viromite. Since then, after making those interventions, we were able to put back honey on the shelves in 2008. And we began to make some progress with the organization, the Beekeepers Association, and they were formally registered in 2010. And even during that time as well, between 2006, 2015, actually in 2010 onwards, we were exporting honey to the lucrative market of Barbados, and we even had a surplus production in 2012. Where we were able to export honey to Canada. So after 2006, we changed our focus and we called it the growth and sustainability of the beekeeping industry from 2006 onwards. And we had a series of interventions that helped the industry grow and take some strides. So the first intervention was from the Australian aid. We were able to introduce bees into Union Island. And if you look at the arrow, it is the last island in the south, just about 5 square miles or less, right? And we had introduced this to make sure that we preserve our Italian bee species that is found on the mainland. And we wanted to embark on a bee breeding program and the introduction of bees in as well, isolated island, which is one of the advantages of having a multi-island state. We can use one island as a designated area for bee breeding and preventing the interbreeding of if we have an invasion of Africanized bees, because our ports are very vulnerable to the invasion. So we were able to prevent it by setting up bees in the small islands. We have also had other invention from the ICA. From ICA, we were introduced to the parent hive technology, which never really took off. We tried it in all the islands, but the farmer were not really convinced of the technology, and we were not able to we put it on hold for now until later on as we continue to develop the industry. We also have as well governance, improving governance. That was an important intervention from ICA, trying to build the capacity of the local bee group. Beekeeper Association. And then we had US aid intervention. We were able to expand beekeeping in UN Island and develop other apiaries down on the small island. Right? And there were other intervention, FAO. We were able to then transfer Queen Marine activity on the mainland, on the windward side of the island. After we finished training and introducing bees on the small island, we trained a few young people, and one guy in particular who embraced the whole training were able to manage it, the rearing of bees and the beekeeping activities there on the mainland by himself, with guidance and guiding the rest of the group of young people. He did very well. So that was a really success, a good success. As well, ICA continued to improve on the governance of the association. And we are working, almost completed our operation manual of the association. And just recently, we had an intervention from the GF Small Grant Project, and we were able to establish flow hives in Union Island again at an agritourism site. I also have pictures to show at the end of the presentation. Demographics of the profile sector in SVG. The type of bees that we have is, we have a strong Italian strain and Spanish strain of bees that are here. We just have about 729 colonies in total, and we basically have a safe capacity of domesticating about 1,200 to 1,500 hives, which is relatively small to some of the countries. But we're looking to reach there within the next 4 to 5 years with great intervention. The average production per year right now is an average of 1,200 gallons, give or take, which is the same as 14,000 pounds or so. If you know, the Grenadines is producing more than 45% of the total production, having just about 151 domesticated hives. And that is quite remarkable. And I think by now we will understand that the rainfall pattern on the mainland and on the Grenadines, since they're so different, and it's much drier in the southern part of our country. Hence, we have a greater yield per hive than on the mainland. Right? Our lowest production per hive per year is about 7 gallons. And we only have about a 4 or 5 month period on the mainland where beekeepers on a good year will be able to harvest honey. But in the Grenadines, you'll be able to harvest honey almost at least 7 months of the year. So that's why we have the Grenadines producing more than 45% of our production so far. So it was a great idea to introduce beekeeping and introduce bees on the Grenadine Islands. And now, probably just one more island, we have not yet introduced bees in that where people are residing. Some brief demographics as well. Unlike Guyana, we have less females. If you notice, we only have about 13% of females. We have about 92 beekeepers in total, and that 92 is respect to persons who actually own hives and have their apiary set up and are actually actively involved in beekeeping. But we train a lot more beekeepers. I believe the reason why they are not in is because of the initial investment and having access to land area as well to start the operation. But right now, currently, we have 92 active beekeepers. 13% are females, 87% are males, the vast majority are males. And in terms of young people involved, we only have 10% of young people involved, and the most of the persons involved are over 40 years, and that is 90% of those persons. So we have an aging population of beekeepers. We are basically divided into 3 regions, and we just have a few overlapping of apiaries, as you see in the subset. the Venn diagram, we have beekeepers having hives in different locations, and I hope it gives a very good analysis of where apiaries are in terms of the regions. All right, so our region is the estuary region, the windward side of the mainland, the leeward side of the mainland, and the southernmost part, the capital area, and the southern parts of the country is considered to be another region. So region 1, 2, and 3. Okay, success and development. One, we have a vulnerability to the invasion of Africanized bees and other pests and diseases. It still is. We have a residential expansion. So more beekeepers now are forced to go into the higher topography of the land, while houses are building in prime areas where bees can be set up. What I must say is that the bees are doing much better in the suburban areas rather than the agricultural districts. And that is basically because of the farmers. And also, in the suburban areas, at least every household have at least 5 mellifera crops where the bees can get forage from, whether pollen or nectar or even propolis. So if I were to recommend a place where a farmer can introduce their bees, the best place right now to introduce bees is in the suburban areas, and perhaps even in the city. So our beekeeping is really dependent upon what farmers are doing or not doing. And that is a challenge as well to our beekeeping development. Development of other crop sectors, and these crop sectors depends on regular spraying and use of pesticides will also affect our beekeeping development. Limited local funding, most of our funding that we get to invest into development of beekeeping comes from overseas. We're now having something that we never saw before, which is predial larceny. We have some new occurrences of predial larceny. Probably we need Trinidad to help us to deal with that in terms of what methods they have used to overcome that. But we probably need some more laws, and we probably need some more stringent activities that would try to prevent this from escalating. All right, and the inconsistent honey yield due to rainfall. This year we have 2 extreme weather patterns. We have an extended drought period, which affected honey production even in the drier parts in the Grenadines. And we have experienced the highest level of rainfall rainy season within the last 10 years or so. So we were hit on both sides. But we might be still able to reach our average production, which is about 1,200 gallons. We have an increase in the demand of local honey. And because we have an aging population, there will be opportunities for young people. Once we increase crop yields and vegetation, we'll be able to even improve production. And there's a need for innovative beekeeping. So we're keeping our eyes open and looking for innovation from other countries as well. So we are glad to be here at the conference, at the Congress. International and regional support as well will be a good success for us to be able to network. And we have not yet tapped the market in terms of other lucrative byproducts like Guyana, and which I believe is very important because of the inconsistency of the yield of honey, and beekeepers need to find another source of income, and we need to tap into that type of production, which we have to basically diversify into other beekeeping products. So future projects that we're looking at now is the standardization of local honey production, and we are we're in progress now receiving funding through the World Bank, where we're going to have a mobile honey extractor So this unit will be able to go as close to the farmer operation as possible. All the farmer has to do is to harvest his honey, and will be able to process the honey in a proper facility that meets the HACCP standard, and it will ensure that the product is safe for human consumption and it's guaranteed quality when it reaches to the consumer or to the supermarket. We want to also have a tree planting program, especially in the Grenadines, because of the dry condition. We had suffered a lot of loss for the extended dry period. So we definitely need to have an improvement in the vegetation down there, even though they are producing very, very good in those dry areas. Later on, we want to develop a lab, a small lab, to establish a home for the association. We definitely have to focus on colony expansion, and as we have said before, product diversification. So here, the first picture that I'm showing, just wrapping up now, is in the Grenadines, we have actually erected a platform in a swamp to set up an apiary. And this hive is producing very, very well. This is one of the second apiary that we have, the third apiary that we have established in UN Island. This is the quality of honey that we produce down there. It's quite remarkable compared to the mainland. And even on the mainland, we don't have this amount of supers on the hive. And if you notice, we will probably only have 2 supers on the mainland, but in the Grenadines, we have at least 3 supers sometimes. Depends on the strength of the colony. Right. So pictures of beekeepers in St. Vincent. This is the opening of our queen rearing facility that we had started, that was funded by the FAO. And we got enough equipment to start a queen rearing operation. Right. So here's some training pictures as well. And if you look at the far left, you will see the quality of the brood pattern that we were able to do our queen rearing and rearing bees. We have some good quality bees that are native to St. Vincent. In terms of, really native, I should say, bees that are still strong in the hybrid, that still have strong Italian strain, for want of a better explanation. All right, so those are training photos here. Even in the Northern Grenadines, this is in Beckway as well. This has the largest apiary. Notice the dry pattern, the dry vegetation, but these are doing very, very well. The amount of supers on top of the hives in a small island, just about 5 or 6 square miles. All right, so those are some few establishments. These are the establishment of the flow hives that were recently done. And if you notice, we also have a very lush mangrove forest. And in this picture, you see the flow hive, and then behind it is the honey house, and above it is a bird watch area. So it's actually an agritourism site where it has all the components of wildlife discovery. It's very, very good. So the beekeepers or tourists can go and walk on the trail, and within the trail, they'll be able to visit the bee house and pick up a bottle of honey. Been good so far. So again, we are happy to even reach this far in terms of production and our beekeeping industry, and we are glad to even launch the Flow Hive project as well. Looking to even expand as much as we can the beekeeping industry in St. Vincent and Grenadines. And again, we are glad to be part of the 10th Caribbean Beekeeping Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. Very informative. I see one question there from Dr. Jessamy. She says, during my work in Cumberland watershed, I note wasps as a dominant pollinator and did not observe honeybees. Do you have a problem with wasps?
We have a shortage of wasps only in some small locations that we have a high quality of wasp. Remember, wasps are actually a carnivore, so they actually do a lot of pest control, not necessarily compete with the honeybees per se. So we don't really have a problem with the wasp. There's only some small location that we see the wasp generally. But in Cumberland, it's a very short, low-lying area. But the bees are on the hills that are above Cumberland, like in Spring Village and in Coles Hill. We have bees, honeybees in those areas.
Okay, great, thanks. Any other questions from anybody? I don't see any other questions in any of the forums. I'm just going to bring everybody's attention to the time. It's now 3:09, and we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 presentations to go. So if we've only done 3 in almost 2 hours. All right, you do the math. So I think we guys have to try to stick to the 15-minute presentation limit, and let's keep it tight, guys. Let's keep it tight. All right, Mr. Hayden, have you sorted out your connectivity issues with your camera?
Yes.
So you're...
Are you hearing us?
Yes, Richard, I'm ready.
Okay, so your guns blazing, ready to go. Okay, sir. Well, the floor is yours. Mr. Hayden Sinanan from the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go for it, man.
Presentation.
Yes, no. What's our doctor to start with the news?
Mr. Small is on. That's good. David, we'll bring you up next, okay, my brother? After...
Yeah, but I get on, but I still not getting in the laptop to get my thing put together.
Yeah, you're there in the right place. You're in the panelist section, but let Mr. Hayden do his presentation now, and then we can do you next, and we'll do all the technical stuff. My guys will work on you behind the scenes, okay?
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
you ready, Mr.
Are you
Hayden?
seeing it?
We're seeing you perfectly,
Yeah, I
crystal
can
clear.
see you, but while I'm saying it, I'm using my phone.
Sure.
Yes, wonderful, perfect. We can see your presentation.
Yes, we see now.
Okay, great job, Hayden. Let's go for it. Let's do the 15 minutes, please, if you can. Clock is ticking.
Okay, good day. So we're ready to go.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Hayden Sinanan, Inspector of Apiaries for Trinidad and Tobago. My presentation, Beekeeping in Trinidad. It's a Twin Island state, but I am just doing Trinidad, and my colleague over in Tobago will be handling Tobago's affairs. So, the general information, of course, we're part of the Windward Islands, and our land area is just under 5,000 meters square miles, sorry. Meters squared. Highest point is only 3,000 feet, just above, and the population is 1.2 million. My slide's not changing here, so let's go in there. So we have 2 seasons, the dry season and the wet season. Generally, we say that the dry season is from January to June, and the wet season from July to December. During the mid part of the year, we have what is called Pitikarim, normally around August. And this season is what really drives our management in the Africanized honeybee. And I should have mentioned at the beginning that we do have Africanized honeybees as one of the only Caribbean islands with the Africanized honeybee. What we try to do is to manage using the ISA method, the agro-ecosystem analysis. And basically what that does is take into consideration, as many of the presenters had said before, all your parameters from your environment, from your colony development, and from you as a beekeeper to maintain what you have going on in your apiary. So we try to manage using this method. This is our national flag. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Our national birds and our national flower. This is the Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago up in the northeast there. And as I said, my colleague who in Tobago will be handling Tobago. And us way down in the south, just above Venezuela, Trinidad and Tobago sits there. The rest of the Caribbean is all over, above us. And we share a big part of what the South American mainland has in terms of its flora and fauna. Our flora is very, very much similar as I've seen in Brazil, in Guyana, and in Suriname. So I guess our honey should be just as close as possible to what you may have on the mainland. This is one of the flowers that bees feed on. I guess you could also identify this flower from the coffee that we would have had in estates all through the country, in both Trinidad and Tobago, but now they're more abandoned estates. And this is one of the apiary and one style of keeping bees that we keep our Africanized bees on. If you notice, this one in the foreground is on what we call bear cases, carrot cases. And the others, they are also on carrot cases, but they are on a long stand where we manage Africanized bees. As you can see, maybe just about a foot apart along the line. And what we try to do, again, using the same ISA method, we teach beekeepers to manage Africanized bees. We teach them to manipulate a colony of Africanized bees whilst managing the entire length of the stand. And that is done just by observation. Another style of management here where we have individual stands throughout one location. As you can see, it's forest all the way around. Part of the hill has been cleared just to house a couple of boxes. And these are just some that you see in here. There are some that's not in the picture. These colonies are mainly Langstroth hives. Well, in fact, they're all Langstroth hives with shallow supers and in some cases deep supers. One super at a time, sometimes two, sometimes three, depending on the time of the year and depending on the location that the bees are placed in. So a little history. I wouldn't go too far back, but I would say in 1979, just around 1979, beekeeping with European bees basically ended because we would have discovered the first colony of Africanized bees during this time. Now, these bees came from South America. They would have, I guess, flown the short distance, and they would have also come on vessels that came, or maybe passing vessels that came from the mainland. And what we have from then till now is several levels of Africanization of the bee, the hive honeybee. So we wouldn't say that bees are European bees in Trinidad. We refer to them as Africanized bees, not killer bees, but Africanized bees. The indigenous bees were the stingless bees from both the family Apidae and Meliponidae, the Meliponidae. And the management of these was practiced many, many years before. Today, it is still practiced in a very limited manner by very few beekeepers and not in all areas of the country. And that could be because the stingless bees would have foraged mainly in the southern areas on trees that generally grew in those areas. But we are trying now through education of the beekeeper and in smaller groups to show that it's possible to have this in your home and it is something that can be done and can add to your income stream. the first established colony of Africanized honeybee was found in South Trinidad in 1979. And then you got the Africanization, and of course, beekeeping was irreversibly changed. Why? Because a lot of people got into beekeeping, and then they got out because they were being stung. In my early years, as an extension officer, I would have gone to beekeepers with European colonies, and they would come out and in a veil and short sleeve, and then the next month, sometimes 2 months down the road, you'll go back and they're no longer in beekeeping because of the Africanized bees. And of course, back then, the media would have touted these as killer bees. So it got a bad reputation from the beginning. As part of our training programs, what we try to do is to change that misconception. So we no longer want to refer to them as killer bees, but just honeybees. So we got a defensive honeybee, which came with a very high swarming rate, and that factor has also caused quite a lot of beekeepers to come out of beekeeping because they weren't able to manage the stings in the first instance, and then they weren't able to manage the ability of the natural ability of this type of bee to be moving. As we know, the European bees would have swarmed 1 or 2 times for the year. These bees would swarm 10 times for the year and keep going. So they would have moved maybe 200 to 300 miles from place to place in 1 year. This resulted in a decline in beekeepers. And I think that is where beekeeping changed quite a lot until we had the new intervention, which I'll get to in a short while. But the decline in beekeeping was also worsened by the dismantling of the apiaries, the apiary unit, around 1985, where we no longer had extension officers dealing directly with beekeeping. What we had was an extension officer dealing with beekeeping and many other things. So basically we had a reduction in governmental support. And this resulted in a reduction of the amount of beekeepers that was trained and that actually remained in. Because as we know, beekeeping is something very dynamic, and if you don't keep up with information, then you're certainly going to get left behind. We also have legislation. And we have the Beekeeping Act, which was enacted in 1935. Very, very old act. Not as old as the Beekeeping Act of the Honeybee Act in the US. That was enacted in 1922. But our act was from 1935. It has 10 sections, 66 regulations, and the inspector of apiaries carry out the mandate of the Beekeeping Act. Now, it's important to say that as old as the act looks, it is very firm in all the things that it prevented, and it caused our beekeeping industry to remain basically stable, even though you had little bit of people coming out and some coming in and so on, but it remained basically stable. Today, we have approximately 400 registered beekeepers and about 10,000 colonies, but we also have several unregistered beekeepers with multiple sites. So some beekeepers might have sites that are registered, and they may have 2 or 3 or 5 other sites that are not registered. And these are the beekeepers that account for a big part of the honey production. As you can see, our colony production is approximately 4 to 6 gallons. We have had instances where beekeepers would produce 12 and 16 gallons per colony, but that is not the norm, but it happens. So, in moving on, when we look at the distribution of apiaries, we see that there's a big distribution in the northeast area, St. Andrew, and a big distribution in the southwest corner. Now, this picture was of 2013. I would like to add that today, if you were to do something similar to this, you would see also a big distribution in the Caroni area and more in Mayaro, which is in the southeastern end of Trinidad. And of course, well, there's also a big distribution in the St. George, which is the northwestern corner, the northwestern peninsula, which to date is still very much forested, because you have quite a lot of protected lands there. We do have some organizations, 4 of them, the Trinidad and Tobago Beekeepers Association, which is a very dynamic association. We have one cooperative. It was formed a couple of years ago. It's still in existence, but it's still a little on the low side. The Association of Professional Beekeepers in South. And then you have Tobago Apicultural Society over in the sister isle Tobago, where it has become really, really, it's highly acclaimed now. And this began thanks to Mr. Gladstone Solomon, who has kept that task together for so long and has now passed the reins on to other members of the beekeeping fraternity. The level of government support. Now, the official policy framework of the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is to create a strong, modern, prosperous, and competitive agricultural sector to improve the nation's food security and reduce poverty. Now, if you were to take this apart and just apply it to apiculture, you could see that it will fit in all aspects of apiculture. Governmental support here, beekeepers today who are registered and who also have farmers registration would be able to get 50% of an agricultural incentive back to them for purchase of beekeeping equipment. Then you have the abatement services, where we remove swarms or even feral colonies in some cases, free of charge. You have maintenance of 2 demonstration apiaries, one in Northeast, and there's a small one in the South. And this will further develop the industry, because these apiaries are used for basically providing starter colonies to new beekeepers, and in some cases, beekeepers who would have had issues with their own apiaries, like they would have lost colonies. And one of the big ways beekeepers lose colonies here is through that use of pesticides, spraying in trying to control mosquitoes and so on. We would have had beekeepers got entire colonies wiped out overnight. And this is where the ministry's extension division and the government apiaries would come in and assist these beekeepers who would have suffered losses to start back, right? We also have training in beekeeping that was done many, many years. It's a 1-week training course, and I think that it should still continue, because the extension division provides this kind of thing where we could take a beekeeper from, well, who we call a beekeeper now, from knowing nothing about bees, Apis mellifera, to learning quite a lot and have them actually make some money from their beekeeping skills. We do have beekeeping officers, although it's just maybe 2 officers we have actually operating in the ministry to give technical guidance in colony and apiary management. So we too are sadly lacking, but as we go on, we'll see how we can address these. Pest and disease. Now, over the past 10 years, we really had no clinical signs of pest and diseases in colonies. We have varroa. We discovered varroa in Trinidad in 1996. Our colonies were not severely impacted. Again, possibly because it's the Africanized bees. In 2016, we would have conducted apiculture survey in pest and disease, a scientific survey, where we took samples from approximately 116 apiary locations throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Samples were taken based on tests to be done on the 6 OIE listed diseases in beekeeping, And those 6 diseases were American foul brood, caused by the Paenibacillus larvae, European foul brood, Melissococcus pluton, the Tropilelaps mite, the Varroa destructor, Acarapus woody, the tracheal mite, and what we found then is that we had no American foul brood. All the samples that were tested, none of them showed American foul brood. None of them showed European foul brood. None of them showed the presence of small hive beetle, Athena tumida. What we did get at that time was the presence of the tracheal mite. And I think it was the first time tracheal mite has been identified in Trinidad and Tobago. And what we have done from then till now is find ways and means based on research and from external places to treat the tracheal mite. And I think we are on par with the treatment of it so that we not really affected by it as such, but when you take into consideration all the other factors in terms of mosquito spraying and poor husbandry and everything, we do have some losses. Now we suffer also what I have termed here as carnivorous ants. I don't have the species for it or the family of it, but what we see is different types of ants, the big ones really. They affect bees. You would see them on the hive as you take the cover off. You would see them walking on the boxes late in the afternoon. But if you were to go to those same colonies in the nighttime, all the bees would be outside the box and just give those ants free rein, and you'd see the ants feeding on the larva and in some cases taking the eggs. And over a couple of nights, you'd lose the hive. And when you come back, you'd think that it just happened because you have a disease. No, it's really ants over a period of time. And of course, we have the wax moth. I have it here as the wax moth with poor husbandry because the wax moth is something that only comes in after the fact. And that too is dealt with from an extension perspective in training the beekeeper to be more alert in certain things. So I have here some of the trees that are produced, the time of the year for flowering, and the locations. And time is short, so I wouldn't go through all. But as you can see, we have a good spread of nectar producing plants in Trinidad. And these are not just plants, these are trees. So we have quite a lot of them that provides a nectar flow, where with proper management of hives, using that ISA method, we could see that beekeepers are producing more and more honey, in some cases with less and less hives, because mainly the younger beekeepers are doing this quantity of honey. When I say the younger beekeepers, I mean those who just got into beekeeping based on extension training and so on. They would have held on to the new methods in beekeeping and the new management systems, the new management techniques, and allow for themselves to produce honey almost year round, right? We do have some threats. We have about 12 of them listed. Of course, there might be more. But predial larceny, I saw on an earlier presentation where predial larceny has been a problem. Only this week, somebody called me and said they lose 8 colonies. They just went and find hive covers on the ground. So people actually go into your locations in your apiaries and move with entire colonies. Sometimes they take the bee stands and everything. So that is a big problem, and it's something that we need to address as a country. We also have slash and burn. We're talking for mosquitoes, as I mentioned. As a threat, I have finances listed because we do have financial institutions that provide some finances for beekeepers, but you have to come up to scratch to get those. And I'm not going to elaborate on that. Marketing is also a threat when you tie it in with the illegal imports. And again, because of where Trinidad is located, you do have illegal importation of honey from the mainland. but you do have some other illegal imports that may come through places where we, well, our normal ports. Another big factor is the climate or the change in weather patterns, because again, when you take into consideration the agro-ecosystem analysis, you would see that the management that you choose to do one time of the year in any one location, you may not be able to do that same management technique in a different location at the same time of the year. And also, you cannot come next year and do the same thing that you did last year, because we have this change in weather. The bees would function, and I saw Richard's presentation, he spoke about the optimal temperature being 34.5. We always tell beekeepers that try to keep your cluster warmed about 35 degrees Celsius, and you will have proper development of your bees. How do you achieve that? Well, that will go into a whole management lecture. We do have pests and diseases, mainly the varroa mite, now the tracheal mite, we have wax moth, and we have the problem with ants. In some cases, we do get a problem with some birds that do feed on bees, but it's in the minority. Labor is a big issue for us. It is difficult to get the average Joe to go into an apiary and do work. Because why? We deal with Africanized bees, and these bees sting, and a lot of people are afraid of it. So not everybody wants to get into bees. And we wouldn't want everybody to get into bees at this point in time, but we try very hard to encourage as much people as possible. Then a big factor also is the land tenure, where we have beekeepers, and this is one of the reasons why we have beekeepers with unregistered apiaries. They can't. To register, you need to have a certain amount of land tenure. You have to have some bit of paperwork to show that. And if you can't have it, then it doesn't mean that you still can't keep bees, but it is going to be a problem for registration. So land tenure is an issue. That is something too that as a country we have to work on. And it goes hand in hand with access roads. Because today we deal with Africanized bees, you can't do like some of the other Caribbean countries where I've seen bees kept in your backyard. You can't do that here in Trinidad because of Africanized bees. So we try to keep as far away from development as possible. Houses, people, recreation areas, we try to keep away from them. So access roads really is an issue. And then to come back to our previous point that I made, staffing. Staffing within the ministry is an issue for apiculture development. We have approximately, as I said before, 400 registered beekeepers. If you were to check the unregistered ones, it would go into many more. And to look at the locations that we have to go, we can't have one officer or two officers doing the country. So we do need more staff. We do need training. And this is where policy development can also come in. If we have proper, strong policies in place for apiculture development, then we could see the need to put more staff, and we could further develop our industry here. We do have downstream industries that we have had beekeepers in the private sector attach themselves to, in addition to beekeeping, some go into it in downstream industries without even being in bees, because you don't need to go and get a bee sting to do exhibitions. You could have some information, right? But because we can show that you have all these things that are available through apiculture, we could see it as a sustainable form of agriculture. We could see it as poverty alleviation. Take, for example, manufacture of tools and equipment. A beekeeper might go into the forest and look after his bees, but he would have his family home, and they could be involved in putting together frames, maybe building parts of the hive, maybe building other things that they would use in beekeeping. Bee suits, manufacture bee suits, manufacture veils, because we need to use those things. And if we were to not have to import them, then that would certainly take away a strain on any economy, not just our economy, but on any economy. So the main thing from beekeeping is honey. But we can also do wax, pollen, propolis. We can do queens, which I know quite a few people in Trinidad has embarked on queen rearing programs and successfully, very successfully. And by doing this, they managed to actually increase the number of colonies within a very short time, right? You do have people who just get in the bees and they produce starter colonies. So they may have their apicultural enterprise just there and use it for splitting and making colonies for sale. That too is a good way of putting some money in your pocket. And then there's apitherapy. I know Richard and them has embarked on something, but we in Trinidad have done apitherapy. We do have some proponents now practicing that in a, I want to say in a commercial way. And I know about 15 years ago, we had one beekeeper in the Northeast that was actually doing this apitherapy out of his home. We have exhibitions, as I mentioned before, and there's a good way to include apiculture development among children, especially in an environment where you have Africanized bees. And of course, apitourism, something that is practiced and has been practiced for a long time over in this style through Mr. Solomon, where he have invited people to come in, and I know that worked well. So it's something that we could also capitalize on. Imports and exports. Well, according to our regulations, we don't import honey. It's a prohibited item, has been a prohibited item since 1935, and will continue to be a prohibited item. There's no importation of used beekeeping equipment. You can import new equipment, but you have to get a permit to do it through the Office of the Inspector of Apiaries. You can export beekeeping products, but you have to conform to the importing country's requirements. And as we have said on many occasions, the export of bee products to the EU territories commercially at this point, as far as I am aware, cannot be done. And it's all because of that residue monitoring plan that was supposed to be put in place way back in 2000, 2001. It never really happened. Given my information, I don't know that it has happened as yet. So exporting honey or bee products to an EU country commercially, that might be out of it. Samples and so on, yes, because we do have beekeepers who have entered recently the London Honey Show as a sample, and they were pretty successful. Not as successful as winning the Hender's Cup in 1999 and 2000, but successful. And it's a good start for people to actually see that our honey is unique. It's a polyfloral honey. It's not one crop is going to give it, and it has a unique taste. And as you move to the different geographic locations in Trinidad and Tobago, you get different flavors, aromas, taste of Trinidad and Tobago's honey. The way forward. Well, the way forward, first of all, and I didn't want to talk too much about this, so you have to give consideration to the socio-economic impact and fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. This actually, when you look at it from a different perspective, could be a way of getting more people into beekeeping because of the sustainability of the beekeeping, the sustainable nature of the apiculture enterprise. We could have smaller beekeepers. When I say small, I mean number of colonies being developed as a way of creating a new income stream, or maybe an additional income stream. Good economics begins with a concern for the conditions of life under which people live. And I like to really look at that and see that this is really what we have to be looking at. With this pandemic, we're going to have a lot of people out of jobs. and these people are going to have to find a way to live. So I think that our policies for apiculture, should they be developed, should include this consideration. We can also have NGOs promote awareness, even include funding, and develop and direct strategies for advancement in the sector. Create linkages to different sectors of the administration for data collection and research, because we do have quite a lot of institutions here in Trinidad that can actually add to the research part of it and the data collection part of it. We do have a central statistical office in Trinidad and Tobago that collects apiculture information twice for the year, and that goes into policy. And of course, we could also always say that agriculture policy without bees is doomed to fail. I've said so many times before, and I'll continue to say so. The bees are the canary in a coal mine. What do we mean by that? Well, as you would have seen in previous presentations, when something goes wrong in the colony, is a direct reflection of what is wrong in the environment. If we see it in that colony now, we could safely say mankind is moving in that direction. It may take a bit longer. So we consider the bees to be the canary in the coal mines. So at this point, I just leave it open to the questions and so on. And there are quite a lot more to say, but time is limited.
Mr.
So I'll hand you back to Richard.
I almost dropped the caution you earlier, but because you made a quote from Sir Arthur Lewis, our great St. Lucian economist, I allowed you to extend your conversation, but we are in the realm of 3:46, and we've got.
Thank you.
We've got 8 more presentations to go. So
okay, not a problem.
I'm of the mindset that I think, and I sent a quick line out to our grantor and our long-serving president, Mr. Solomon, and they both concur that we should try to wrap up at 4 o'clock today, and any outstanding presentations we can add on to tomorrow at 2 o'clock, from 2 o'clock onwards tomorrow, because I don't see any, it's been a long day, and I think we're all somewhat brain fried with apiculture. Anyway, apiculture, so I'm looking to see what everybody has to say out there. Any comments out there?
I agree.
You agree, Mr. Williams?
I agree.
All right. I'm looking for some comments in the box. I know Sarah has, Sahar, Miss Lightbourne in the Bahamas has something to do tomorrow, but I'm hoping 2 o'clock will be sufficient time for us to start, and maybe we can plug in a presentation towards the end of the day, if possible. But I think some of us are on overload. It's a tradition that those of you, it's your first Congress, it's a tradition at all Congresses. Country presentations never finish on time. All right, never. So do we have an accord at that, folks? Ladies and gentlemen, we can take some question and answers to Mr. Hayden now, and then we can wrap up at 4 o'clock. It's 3:48 now. Are we in agreement to that? I think everybody in this room here says aye. What about on the internet? I'm not seeing any comments from the attendees and the panelists. What are your views, everybody? Everybody's in agreement, or have you all fallen asleep already? And I'm
Please have it.
I just see 40 people online, but you're all snuggled up on your sofa with a cup of tea. Unlike us here. All right, so Mr. Hayden, anybody have any questions for Mr. Hayden? Let's shoot some questions at Mr. Hayden till 4 o'clock, and then we'll call it a wrap until tomorrow morning at 9, where we'll start with our scheduled presentations. And then at 2 o'clock, I'm also going to try to even, as we speak, I'm even getting requests from, after we do our presentation from Vita-B Health, we should run at between 1:30, I think 1 to 1:30, and then we can wrap up, or we can do a short lunch break. I don't know, let's see what the options are. I can make some changes.
Question?
Yes. Yes, Alan?
Question for Senator. Trinidad and Tobago. I heard, I have noticed you have any interest, or your beekeepers have any interest in flow hives in Trinidad? Do you have any apiary setup? Technology?
Yeah, unmute yourself.
Yeah.
I'm asking, you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, good.
The flow hive. As
Yes.
far as I know, we don't have beekeepers really using flow hive in Trinidad. I know there was one in Tobago. I'm not sure how that, at least one in Tobago. I'm not sure how that is going, but it is not really part of what we advise people on. And that would have been mainly because of our legislation. But no, we don't. Short answer.
Question for Trinidad. David Small, Barbados. How do you all go about, let's say, you talk about your pre-rearing just started. How do you go about, like, do you have any workers working with the Africanized bees, or is the problem finding workers?
I didn't hear that question too clearly. Richard, can you moderate that question?
You talk about the Africanized bees and labor. Do you have problems finding workers to work with the Africanized bees in Trinidad?
If we have problems with
Finding
workers,
workers to work with the bees, yeah.
no, generally people who go into beekeeping, who go into bees, are beekeepers, or they have some bit of training from the beekeeper, but we are fully clothed. We have beekeepers. Even myself, sometimes we go into bees and we wear 2 suits, sometimes 3, one over the other.
Understand.
So as long as we stick to that kind of thought process, we could do it.
Thank you.
But we will not take somebody and just go into bees like that and not have them protected or not have them trained.
Yeah, I
How
think,
to answer your question?
yeah, thank you. You did answer the question.
I just said one interesting I found in your presentation, Hayden. We share a common tree, the savonette tree. Both St. Lucia and Trinidad shares that tree, and it was in your presentation. I'm happy to learn that you had the common name for it in your presentation.
I hope it's the.
Well, I'm going to check it out, but
yeah,
I think it is. Savonette tree is it's a pretty. I don't think that, but I'm happy to see you had the common name in it, so I always wanted to know what the common name was for that tree. So I now know I can try and dig a little deeper on it. So thanks for that one.
As long as it's the same thing, it flowers here around July to September.
Yeah, same
so
time.
If you have that.
Yeah, about September. Normally, yeah, I'll take some.
I have a question for Trinidad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I go ahead?
Of course.
Yeah. Lyndon Stewart, Guyana. I know you have both Italian and Africanized in Trinidad. Is it that the Italian bees population is decreasing now in Trinidad due to the advent of the Africanized bees?
So we don't really have Italian bees in Trinidad anymore, London. We have Africanized bees here. However, in the sister isle, we believe that we do still have the Tobago bees, which is basically a European strain. But in Trinidad, for the longest while, we have not seen anything like European bees based on behavior.
Yeah, I can recall a few years ago, you all have imported some Italian bees to Trinidad. So are you saying that that strain that you have imported is being bred out?
I don't know how long ago you think you're referring to, but we have stopped really importing queens into Trinidad, and that has been so for at least 10 years now.
Yes,
through the legal
I'm
channels.
speaking around that time. I'm somewhere around that time because I was in Trinidad for the Fourth Congress, and Mr. Alem had told me that you guys had did so, and you had asked for it to be quarantined, and the bees came in and they got a lot of infection when they came in. Why I'm asking is because we are trying to make sure that we don't end up in the same problem here in Guyana, because I heard through the grapevine that someone in Guyana wants to import Italian bees, and they were contacting the Ministry of Agriculture to do so, but the ministry will have to make contact with GLD, which is Dr. Lykin's area, and we have already mentioned that there's a ban on that. We don't want that to happen because we don't want to import any foreign disease that we don't have.
Well, I think that having European bees in Guyana, to be honest, I don't think that would where you have that amount of Africanized bees,
exactly,
they're going to be outnumbered. As Dr. Dempiwolf mentioned earlier on, the bees, apis generally, takes over the habitat of the pollinators. And we know that Africanized bees are a lot more aggressive in the way that they feed, in the times that they feed, the length of the day and the weather conditions and so on. So by someone wanting to have European bees in an Africanized bee environment, that is starting at a loss.
These are persons who doesn't really, they want to get into bees. They're not, they're not trying to get involved in bees. So we have to make contact with them. But when I started out in the early 70s, we were more Italian bees. It's just around 75 we discovered the Africanized bees. And from then to now, all the strains of Italians being bred out in Guyana.
Right. And similarly, I heard a couple of years ago where, I probably was stepping my bounds here, where somebody from Grenada wanted to import Africanized bees into Grenada from Trinidad. Thankfully, we have a good, close relation with beekeepers, and the person called me and said that that's what I want to do, and I had to call my Grenadian counterpart and try to put a stop to that one time, because that in itself is going to change quite a lot of things.
Yes, it will.
I wouldn't advise anybody to do something like that.
But so far, the Africanized bees have not reached the Bagos yet.
For some strange reason. And so far, it has not reached Jamaica too.
It has anything with the geographical layout between Trinidad and Tobago, or is a strong force of wind or something that preventing them from flying from one place to the other?
Well, okay, whatever it is, it works well for us.
Yeah, because
so we can have people go to Tobago and see good calm bees, and then come to Trinidad and see the type that we have here.
Well, I can say all 10 regions in Guyana is fully Africanized, because I've traveled to all 10 regions in Guyana to observe and to do training, and all 10 regions in Guyana are Africanized bees.
And the same thing also Suriname and Brazil too, because I had some interaction with people in Suriname, and really, really Africanized bees. So, yep.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so does that conclude? Oh, we still got 3 minutes left, so I mean, utilize all 3 minutes of it. Don't be afraid, I mean, like everybody's been talking way over time. Now we put a deadline. Nobody want to talk no more.
You guys export honey?
Trinidad?
Yeah,
no.
Trinidad exports.
Not in any big way. We do have one or two people from Trinidad that actually got into some markets, but really, really niche markets, nothing to talk about.
Okay.
Right then. Okay, so well, at least I stole back 2 minutes. Then I conclude. If nobody's got anything more to add, I can steal back 2 minutes of my day. All right, so the plan is that we will run tomorrow with the planned schedule, which should take us up to Vita Bee Health from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, and then from 2 o'clock onwards, we'll do a couple of country presentations, and then I'll break it up. I've got an Argentinian organization that wants to make a quick presentation, so I'm going to allow CAP, the Argentinian cooperative, to make a quick presentation, and then we're going to segue back into our country presentations, and hopefully we can finish before 5 o'clock. Hopefully I'll get a good night's sleep tonight, and I'll be here fresh and early, and I have my coffee percolator next to me so that I can run through the day and give everybody else coffee who needs it. All right, but definitely I think today was a fantastic day, a great first day. I really loved Dr. Jessamy's presentation. If I had anybody to open the baton again, definitely be Dr. Jessamy. Dr. Demple's presentation, climate change and neotropical pollinators, was especially interesting. It gave some perspective of, you know, as beekeepers, we need to be mindful of the other pollinators in the region, and not to drown out. We're in danger of drowning out all the other pollinators. And she also gave some interesting insight into the type of vegetation that we have is not really suited to bees. I remember a good friend of mine, a long-standing beaker from the UK, Duncan Simmons. He came to St. Lucia twice, and you know, he always said to me, Richard, the forage in the Caribbean seems better suited to hummingbirds than to bees, which I always found quite interesting. But listening to Dr. Demple's presentation tonight, it really shed some perspective and insight into his comments. I think my colleague, Dr. Perspear, did a great presentation on technology-supported agriculture with a little bit of help from me. And I think I was really impressed with when we did get the country papers going from Guyana and St. Vincent. I know my friend, Mr. Rivas in Dominican Republic. I had a chance to take a quick peek at your presentation, and it's got some really nice stuff in there. I think everybody will really be interested in that. And also Ms. Lightbourne's presentation from the Bahamas. They've been doing some great things in the Bahamas, and I think that's another really great presentation that everybody should take note of, especially how they have they're building back the agriculture sector after the devastations of those hurricanes a few years ago. So, you know, it's really good, a really good case study for somebody to write on the resilience of the honeybees in the Bahamas and their recovery. It'd be a really, if I was living there, I would really do a nice project to write about that, because that'd be very interesting. But as we're coming to a close now, I really do apologize that we weren't able to finish all our country papers today, but I think it made more sense for us to bring it to a close than us to be all really badly beaten going into tomorrow. So we can wrap up now, start fresh tomorrow, and we can definitely make a good push at it. I'll have a lot of coffee here for anybody that needs it, and I suggest everybody else get some coffee too, because it's going to be a long day. All right, so anybody have any remarks before we go? Anybody have anything they need to say? Nothing? Anybody? Nobody? Anybody?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Richard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Dr. Jessamy had a very impressive report, and what I would like to add to Dr. Jessamy report in terms of that Manuka honey and that Manuka flower. No research was done in Guyana to know if we have a species of the Manuka bush, but we are seeing evidence of the flower resembling the Manuka bush in Region 7 and Region 4. And we have honey with the same flavor and taste like the Manuka coming from Region 4 in Mahito. So we set up some hives to do production there. We couldn't remember what time of the year we had that flavor.
Right.
But as soon as we get that flavor, we're going to be sending it for testing. I can send you pictures of the flowers that looks like the manuka that we're seeing in Mahaika and in the upper Masroni in an area called Mbamadai, which is a gold mining area.
Fantastic, fantastic, good work. Well, you know, one of the takeaways from Dr. Jessami's presentation is that, you know, we really need to find a common if the medicinal properties of her honey is already hitting above the manuka, why we stopping at manuka? We need to look at what we got of our own, and if there's something common to all of our islands, all of our countries, come together and produce that as one single brand and release it as the Caribbean, you know, the Caribbean medicinal
Caribbean
honey.
unique honey.
Yeah, you know, I mean, let's try. One of the things I want us to try to promote as an organization is that we need to try to emulate the bees. We need to emulate the species that we work with, because so much of us, we have great ideas and great things we want to do, but we're doing it as individuals as opposed to taking a lesson from the species that we work with every single day. They don't do anything by themselves. They all work together and they make a single thing happen. So if one thing, and I'm sure our president would support me if I am so bold as to say this, is that I believe let's try to use this Congress to bring ourselves closer together and try and form common relationships so that we can work together. I think that's a clear thing of importance that we really need to focus on and do at this time, because I'm listening to all these presentations and we're all saying the same thing, and the only people that can solve our problem is ourselves. All right? So we really need to push forward, you know, and let's get the job done. Let's get it done. All right, you know, I think 2020 we've faced a lot of adversity, but it's time to get the job done. All right, November is a good time to have a Congress. We can start the year fresh in 2021. So let's just, I'm sure when we have an AGBO AGM, we need to have a common objective for the year 2021, 2022, and let's stick to that goal and make it happen. All right, so on that note, I would like to conclude this meeting until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.